Hello everyone, welcome to the last webinar of 2016, Handling the Holidays, How to Stay Healthy During the Most Wonderful Time of the Year. Before we get started, just a couple of those similar items to take care of that we do every month. We will hopefully have time for questions at the end of the presentation. You can type those into the question box in the lower portion of your control panel. We will be posting a recording of the webinar online, but if you would like a copy of the presentation in PDF format, or if your question does not get answered today, please email our support inbox, which will be shown at the end of the webinar. We're going to cover all of the aspects of health this month because unfortunately, even though the song says we're in the most wonderful time of the year, our mental, physical, and emotional health can be strained during the holidays. We will start with some tips on eating healthy, and I will give you a few healthier options for recipes. We will talk about some good ways to get in some activity. I'm not going to spend as much time on that as we just did a webinar on staying active last month. That's on our blog, thehealthcheck360blog.com, if you haven't seen it. And then lastly, we will cover some ideas on handling the stress and emotional toll this time of year can take on some of us. Let's start with that nutrition side of things because I do believe this is probably the most challenging aspect for most of us. Because if you're like me, this time of the year you live for sugar cookies, chocolate covered anything, and all the sugar and carbohydrates that come with holiday baking. It's extremely hard to stay away from the treats that are around this month, and I'm not here to tell you that you have to completely, but I do want to make it extremely clear how much damage you can do to yourself if you don't set some ground rules and at least take a mindful approach to this month. The amount of sugar, unhealthy carbohydrates, processed oils that we consume this month especially is really quite terrible. So let's just talk about a few tips to get you reined back in and get you through the next few weeks. First tip, set goals. Actually write down these goals on a piece of paper or print them out and hang them, put them where you will see them daily. Make them simple, make them specific, and make them realistic. If you know that you will not be able to stay away from Great Aunt Betty's sugar cookies, then set a goal of how many you will take. Instead of having 5 like you maybe would have in the past, settle for 1 or 2 or something that's going to be realistic for you. Know yourself and what's best for you. Some of you may need to be a little more strict so you don't cheat. Some of you may be able to be a little more flexible with those goals. Another example, just switching to exercise briefly, would be that you will exercise 3 days a week for 20 to 30 minutes at 6 a.m. when you wake up. If it's a week where you'll be traveling due to the holidays or for work for that matter, take that into account and then plan exactly when you will be exercising and then have a backup plan in place as well. If you're planning on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, but then you have another day that you know would work just in case something unexpected comes up, put that in there as well. Because this month, things are going to come up more often, either from year-end work obligations or family, friends, or activities, whatever it is. That's why you need that backup plan in place. Because a lot of people don't, that's where we fall into some trouble. All right, back to eating. Another tip is to eat before you go out. If you're headed to a friend's house and you suspect all they will have there are cookies, drinks, and not many healthy options, try to eat a healthy meal before you go. Drink a big glass of water to help fill you up. Then stay away from that table where the food is located so you don't mindlessly take things that you shouldn't. If it's a potluck, bring a healthy option. Then you will know that there will be at least one thing that you can take, and then you can take a small portion of something yummy as a treat if it's within that goal that you've already set. And then you will know that you're providing others with a healthier option as well. I will be talking about some healthier recipes here in a few minutes, so you can choose one of those. The next tip is to use a small plate. There are many studies out there that say that if you will take less if you have a smaller plate. I know what you're saying. Yeah, Captain Obvious, I can't fit as much on there. Yes, this is true, and that's one of the reasons why you should do it. But it's also a mental trick. Even if you don't fill up your small plate, you will feel like you're taking more because it just looks like a bigger portion on a smaller plate. Also, don't go back for seconds right away, and not at all if you can help it. If you at least wait a bit before heading back to the food, you will give your stomach a chance to signal your brain that you're full. This will avoid eating extra bad foods and will prevent you from getting to that too full feeling. Nobody feels good at that point, right? So let's avoid that altogether because we know it's not good for our health as well. Next thing, be careful of beverages. First reason, those fruity punches, things like that, are probably filled with enormous amounts of sugar. Secondly, if you're drinking alcoholic drinks, those reasoning skills when it comes to eating more food and those goals that you set, those might just go right out the window. So water is going to be an ideal choice for the reasons that I've said in many, many webinars before. It's so good for you in so many aspects. But if that's not going to be realistic for you to stick with just water, just please be mindful, be reasonable with the other amounts of drinks you consume. Those liquid sugars are really, really bad for us. And you will thank yourself the next day for multiple reasons. The last tip for healthy holiday eating, find something to do that is not centered around food. Crafts, board games, a winter hike. Find something to get your mind off of the food. The reason for getting together is not what we're eating. It's to spend time with those we love. It's to celebrate whatever seasons that we're celebrating, whatever holidays that we choose to celebrate. So don't make it all about the food. Find something else to do to still enjoy the time with the people that you're with. But I do know that food is a big part of get-togethers. So with that in mind, I come bearing a few healthier options for holiday favorites. I actually did more than I planned to do, so you're getting quite a few. And then notice again that I said healthier as well. These aren't things that I recommend eating on a regular basis, just better options for holiday baking. So this first one is ginger molasses cookies. This recipe uses coconut flour rather than white flour, which adds in healthy fats, lowering your grain and carbohydrate count. Just on a side note with coconut flour too, you can't just substitute it on a 1-to-1 ratio for regular white flour. They're not equivalent. So just be sure you're doing your research if you want to use it in other recipes. So, but anyways, you've got that, you've got cashews or almonds, ginger, cinnamon, salt, baking soda, coconut oil, or grass-fed butter, and then some maple syrup for a natural sweetener. You can also use some coconut sugar for decorating if you want to. So again, you can see the instructions here. You need a food processor. You're just going to add those nuts to kind of make it more part of the flour consistency as well for the baking. That's what the nuts are for. And then add the rest of the ingredients, combine, add in your wet ingredients, make that dough, and then do what you do. Bake it for 8 to 10 minutes. Again, I say this on another recipe, but make sure you know your oven. Some of them are a little hotter than others, so I don't want you to burn these wonderfully delicious cookies. And this recipe makes about a dozen, so you can double it if you're going to a bigger party. The next recipe I have is for healthier sugar cookies. The classic sugar cookie is tough to replicate, but I personally think this recipe does a really good job. Simple ingredients again, butter, grass-fed is best. Some of you may be getting ready to ask me what is so great about grass-fed, as I've said it twice already. Well, it's higher in omega-3 fatty acids, which is good for heart health, for brain health, among many other things. It also has a high amount of vitamin K2, which is amazing for heart health as well. You've got anti-inflammatory properties, which we are now finding is so important to heart health as well. So basic thing with omega-3s and grass-fed butter, better for the heart, better for the brain, lots of good stuff. Okay, back to the recipe. Coconut oil, coconut sugar. Wait, coconut sugar? Yes, I said that in the last one too. This is an option for regular table sugar. Now, before you go dumping coconut sugar on everything, let me just clarify with this. First, there are some additional nutrients found in coconut sugar, so that beats table sugar, which has 0 nutritional value. The amount of the nutrients isn't a huge amount, but again, it's still better than nothing. It's also less processed, which is always a good thing. But it is still sugar. So while it's better, it's still something that we don't want to be eating on a regular basis. Again, like I said at the beginning of the webinar. Holiday treats aren't something that we eat all year round, or you better not be anyways, just for these last couple months of the year. Okay, so now that I've clarified that, let's keep going. We've got eggs, vanilla extract, almond flour, which again is similar as the coconut flour. You're going to have better nutrients and healthy fats and way less carbs. That's why we're choosing those types of flours. Coconut flour again, baking soda, salt. Pay attention to these instructions as it does have you make the dough ahead of time, at least 30 minutes, as you can see in the recipe there. So if you've got a stand mixer, I'm jealous of you first of all, but use that. Otherwise, a bowl and a wooden spoon will do. So again, just follow those instructions. And I'm sure a lot of you will be emailing the inbox. So it's just healthcoach@healthcheck360.com to get these recipes if you don't have time to write down everything. But again, this one we want to make ahead. You can refrigerate it 30 minutes or up to overnight. And again, watch the time so you don't burn them. This one is a pretty big recipe. This one's going to make about 45 cookies. I think they're pretty small cookies though, because mine didn't make that many. All right, let's get to a chocolate recipe. Yes, chocolate chia cookies. If you've got creamy peanut butter, that's great. Natural is best. I'm going to get into that a little bit here. I'm okay with any butter. Just again, make sure it's natural or organic because we really want to cut down on the added sugars and the added oils that they do in a lot of those processed peanut butters. Look at it sometime if you haven't. It's amazing the amount of sugar that they add to peanut butter. Chia seeds, they are a superfood and they earn that title. 1 ounce or 2 tablespoons has 11 grams of fiber, 4 grams of protein, 5 grams of those wonderful omega-3 fats that I've already talked about, 18% of our daily calcium intake, 30% of manganese, 30% of magnesium, 27% of phosphorus. They're full of antioxidants, and there is more that I just am not going to get into. But bottom line, great stuff. Then you have the unsweetened cocoa powder, an egg, maple syrup, and again, organic or as natural as you can get with something like maple syrup because there are a lot of processed options out there as well. They do have an optional amount. You can put in some chocolate chips as well. I'm going to leave that up to you. I'll turn my head if you want to put those in there because I do agree. I think it's a little better. But you could do maybe half and half, some of them with, some without. So you've got a couple options there for you. So again, simple recipe, mix it up and bake. All right, we've already had some peanut butter in the last recipe, but let's just have more because I love it. Peanut butter protein cookies. This one, again, very, very simple. Peanut butter, coconut sugar, again, 2 scoops of protein powder, vanilla protein powder is what they suggest, and then 2 eggs. Now, when you're talking long-lasting energy, these cookies are really good for that. Protein, healthy fats. They're actually pretty healthy. Again, there's still sugar in them. Coconut sugar is better, so it's a little more of a treat, again, but you're getting a lot of good stuff. So with this one, the only note I want to make on this is that some peanut butters can be creamier than others. So like it says here, if your mixture looks a little too liquidy, you can add a little more protein powder. If it looks a little too crumbly, add a little more of the peanut butter because depending on what peanut butter you choose, some of them are a lot more creamy than others or have some natural oils and water in them, which is not a bad thing. That's actually a very good thing. That means they're more natural, but you just have to watch that when you're cooking them. So, and again, it's a little sticky with the peanut butter, so just making sure you wet your hands when you're making the balls and things like that. So about 10 to 12 minutes here. This makes about a dozen cookies. I'd say that's pretty accurate on this one, depending on how big you make them. So there's our peanut butter protein cookies. All right, holiday favorite, hot chocolate. Those instant packets of hot chocolate are extremely processed and usually contain way more junk than needed. Not always, but sometimes. So here's a more natural option for you. One thing to note, and hopefully a little lesson here today just for some extra info, This one calls for cacao powder rather than cocoa powder. If you didn't know, there is actually a difference between the two, not just simply wanting to say cacao because it sounds cooler, but it does. So the difference between these two powders is how they are processed. Cacao powder is processed at a lower temperature, so more of the natural antioxidants that come with the cacao bean are retained. So it's not a huge difference, but it is an important one. So you can definitely still use regular cocoa powder for this recipe, but at least now you can have a little bit more of an informed decision when you go to the holidays. You can talk about a little fun fact for everyone. So what else do we need? Milk. Again, you know, I'm going to say the same things. Organic whole milk is actually probably, as far as health benefits, the best one you can choose. But do whatever milk you want, and you can also do almond milk or whatever if you don't do dairy. You want a teaspoon of a spice powder of your choice, so you can do cinnamon, vanilla, or there's lots of fancy spice powders out there. And then if you do want it a bit sweeter, you can use honey or stevia powder. If you aren't familiar with stevia, it is widely recognized as the best artificial sweetener option that we have right now. So again, directions are below. Add the powder, the spice, and the sweetener, and then you're going to add some water to make kind of a paste there, and then you're going to warm up your milk on the stove and then stir it together, and then you can put a little more dusting of the powder on there as well. So good stuff. And again, I know this picture has marshmallows, but that's just for show. It's just because that was the prettiest picture we picked. We don't want that extra processed stuff in there for the marshmallows, right? Nah, we can just keep the hot chocolate. So anyways, moving on. The last recipe we will do, and then I'll move on to activity. No holiday, or at least none that I have ever been to in the Midwest, is complete without mashed potatoes. I put a couple options on here due to the fact that I get very mixed reactions when I tell people to try the cauliflower in place of their potatoes. So I got a couple options. The first one, I just made it as simple as doing your own recipe, but instead of the sour cream that's in most recipes when you're doing mashed potatoes, do Greek yogurt instead. More protein is the reason that we do this, less processed usually. But for those of you who want to cut down on the starchiness and the carbohydrate content and add some additional nutrients, try this cauliflower version, which also does have Greek yogurt for your enjoyment. I've said this to many participants, potatoes have great nutrients, but they are very starchy, so this is a great way to change things up, or at least have an option. You can do both if you want. So as far as the cauliflower recipe, we've got the 1 head of cauliflower, the milk, the butter, Greek yogurt, again, like I said, salt, pepper, chives if you want to put it on the top. So you're going to separate the cauliflower and then chop the florets, and then you're going to bring them to a boil. You're going to cook them for a while so they get tender, and then you're going to get them as dry as you can. The drier the cauliflower is, the better consistency you're going to have at the end. So then you're going to add those other ingredients, and then you're going to mash until it looks like your mashed potatoes, and you're good to go. Okay, let's move on to exercise. And I just got a question about repeating the website. That will be on at the end of the webinar. It'll be posted, so you'll be able to write that down. So let's move on to exercise. Like I said at the beginning, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this topic because I just covered it pretty heavily in our last webinar, which again you can find on our blog, which is the question I just had. It's healthcheck360blog.com is what it is. But again, it'll be listed at the end. But I'm going to cover a few tips today about getting in some activity during the holidays. The first tip I have is what I said at the beginning. Set specific, set simple goals, set realistic goals. If you go into the holiday season saying, oh yeah, I'll get some exercise when I can, it's going to be very difficult to stick with that. Schedules are crazy this time of month, or this time of year, sorry. And if you don't schedule exercise into your time, it's the first thing that's going to get pushed to the bottom of the priority list. You know that it's true. I know that it's true. It happens all the time. So think about what you want to do with your schedule, what you know about your schedule now, and find some time to carve out and plan what you will do. You can set an amount of days you just want to do something. If you're a walker or a runner, you can set a mileage goal or you can set a minutes goal. Say you want to hit that 150 minutes of moderate activity that's recommended. Great. If you said, I will do 5 days of 30 minutes and you end up doing 45 minutes on Monday, how great does that feel? Keep a tally sheet of what your goal is and make it a big deal as you get closer to that goal. And you can always challenge a family member or a friend to see who can get the most minutes, miles, or whatever it is, if competition motivates you and them as well. That's always a good thing to do if that's going to motivate you. If you have a pedometer, Fitbit, Apple Watch, app on your phone, use it. Be sure that you hit that 10,000 step goal or whatever you set as your goal. Could be 5,000, 6,000, whatever it is. Make sure you're hitting that mark. If you get home and you only have 1,000 steps to go, get moving. Anything to keep you mindful of your movement this month is going to help, and it's going to be positive. Because again, we know the eating may not be perfect. We know there's lots of things going on with stress. So if you can get in more activity, it's going to help with your mental and your physical stress and health. And then reward yourself. Capital letters, not with food unless it's healthy food. It could be a new outfit. It could be a trip to the movies, something fun that you would not normally do for yourself. Incentives are a really good thing, but we have to use them properly. So think about something like that to do too to keep you moving this month. If you've got family home for the holidays, exercise with them. Make exercise a group activity. Go for a walk. Have a snowball fight. Be careful with the little ones. Go skiing, sledding. Do something fun. If you don't have snow or you're in a warm climate, go swimming for the rest of us who can't, please. Go walk on the beach. Do whatever it is to get active with your family or your friends. Just have some fun. Take a page from the younger kids you may be around. Run, jump, play. It's all exercise. And with something like that, you're not just getting physical benefits, you're getting mental and emotional benefits as well. Make a new tradition. Have an annual family football, soccer, baseball, basketball, running, race, whatever it is. Have a new game. Winner gets an ugly homemade trophy and bragging rights until next year. The point is, we need to embrace the different schedules and things we've got going on this time of year, not use it as an excuse to be unhealthy. If you've got that family member that doesn't want to do it, try to get them off the couch. See what you can do. All right, like I said, didn't spend much time on exercise. So if you do want to chat more about that, let us know. Or again, watch the whole webinar that we did on it last month. Because I'm going to move on to our last topic here. And this one, if not properly addressed, can lead to negative actions in those other aspects of our health, our eating, our exercise, and that is stress. The holidays can be wonderful, but they can also be filled with stress. Whether you have lost a loved one and the holidays are a tough time, whether you're wondering where you will find the money to buy the gifts for your family, whether you're wondering when you will find the time to do everything you need to do, or whether the colder weather just gives you a dose of those winter blues. We need to deal with these issues in a positive way. I'm going to start with financial stress. We love to buy gifts for our loved ones, right? Absolutely. But we also need to think big picture. You need to start with communication. Sit down with your spouse, girlfriend, boyfriend, mom, dad, whomever you make financial decisions with, and decide what you will do this year. Set expectations of what is realistic for you to do for gifts. Make a budget and agree on that budget. Don't bully the other person into agreeing on how much to spend. Truly listen to all of the opinions and come to a consensus of how much you should be spending. Again, I know it's fun to go crazy with gifts, but if you're going to end up putting stress on your finances for the beginning of 2017, and that's going to in turn affect your mental health or affect your relationships, is it really worth it? So again, just be realistic and set an amount. And I know some of you may have already started spending or maybe done. If so, good for you. That's amazing. So just use these tips for the remaining gifts you have, or just keep these in mind for next year. So speaking of next year, you can always look for sales on things. There's probably still some around. But if you're brave enough next year, head out on Black Friday to find some amazing deals. Or stay on your PJs like me and do it on your couch, because you can get those same deals online most of the time. As I've heard in my house, we can't afford not to buy that because it's such a good deal. That's not the right attitude, by the way, just so you know. There can be great deals out there, but again, make sure you're still aware of what you're spending overall because things add up quickly even if they are amazing deals. Also, think about making your gifts. What mom or dad, grandpa or grandma doesn't love a good handprint snowman from the kids or grandkids, right? Or head to Pinterest or any search engine and enter DIY gifts. DIY stands for do it yourself, just FYI for your information. And the world of homemade gifts is literally at your fingertips. And I'm being serious with this. There are amazing gifts that cost a fraction of the cost of those mass-produced things out there that your friends and family will love much more knowing that you spent some time and effort into making them. So again, budget, look for sales, and get your creative hat on when it comes to financial stress during the holidays. Next stressor, that crazy schedule. As I've already said, and as you already know, this month can be absolutely chaotic. So take some time today to map out your month and make a to-do list. Put the top priority items on top and pencil in when you will have time to work on them. Don't forget about exercise and time for relaxing in that priority list as well. I hear it every day that people just don't have time to do things this month. I'm going to call your bluff. I don't care if it's 5 minutes. You can find some time to sit and reflect on what you're grateful for, or do some deep breathing, or do some jumping jacks. 5 minutes. I promise you, it will make you feel better. On this note, and this will make some of you cringe when it comes to your schedule, it's okay to say no. You don't have to attend every holiday party. You don't have to bake 18 dozen cookies for the bake sale going on. I know we all want to help out, and that's fantastic. You should definitely have time built in for volunteering and helping out the less fortunate, especially this time of the year, but know your limits too. Make 2 dozen cookies instead of 18 dozen. Pick one work party instead of going to all 3. One of the best sayings out there is that when you say yes to something, you are saying no to something else. So when you're saying yes to staying out late at a party, you're saying no to quality sleep. When you say yes to baking 18 dozen cookies, you're saying no to relaxing and playing with your kids. Think about those things when you're caught up in saying yes to everything. So again, make a to-do list, check it twice, and stick to the priorities in the schedule you're set for yourself as best as you can, taking into account your own health. The last big stressor I will touch on today is stress due to emotions surrounding this time of year. This is a tough topic. Like I said, it can be that you have lost a loved one and you're thinking of them during this time. Most of us have lost someone that we think about during this season. This can lead to feelings of loneliness and can lead to depression. You can already have seasonal depression factoring into play as well, which can be due to chemical imbalances and lack of vitamin D from lack of sunlight exposure this time of the year. Whatever the reason, some of us or our friends and family are struggling. The first tip I have for this kind of stress is to acknowledge that it's there. Some people don't understand how we can be sad or mad or whatever because it's the holidays. We should all be happy and festive, right? No. There is no right way to feel when we're dealing with emotional stress. Don't try to ignore any symptoms you're feeling just because you, quote, aren't supposed to feel that way right now. If you realize that you've got some emotional stress, please reach out. Talk to someone you trust, a friend, a coworker, a family member, your doctor, whomever you trust to talk seriously and openly about your feelings. If you feel like it's getting to a more serious level, like something that could be depression, call your doctor and they can recommend a therapist or someone to talk to. Your work may also have an employee assistance or EAP program that can recommend a professional to talk to, and it's all anonymous. Great benefit that a lot of the companies will have that people don't take advantage of, honestly. Whatever you do, please don't do nothing. You deserve to have a happy holiday season just like anyone else, and getting help with that emotional stress can help you do that. And then on that same note, be realistic. What I mean by this is don't stretch yourself thin with commitments that you know will add to your stress. If you don't feel like you can go to that event because it will be overwhelming, then don't go. Know your triggers and do your best to either avoid or, if that's not possible, be prepared for them. Use my other tips like budgeting your spending and planning your schedule to add in time for relaxation, exercise, or fun things that you would look forward to. Or maybe that's as simple as planning on getting enough sleep. There is a link between sleep and depression, and also between exercise and helping symptoms of depression. So make both of those top on that priority list of your to-do list that you've got. If you can get outside with that exercise, even better, because then you can get yourself some of that vitamin D I talked about. On the other side, maybe take some time to help out those less fortunate than you. Donate to Toys for Tots, or take a tag off of one of those gift trees that has a family in need that you can buy items for. Sometimes doing something for others can help your own outlook, help your own gratefulness, and can help with that stress as well. Finally, I just wanted to give a quick list of de-stressors that you can do, listening to music, getting a massage, reading, making a gratefulness journal, simple deep breathing. Literally 5 minutes of deep breathing is amazing. Taking a walk, some people like to take a relaxing drive, exercising, of course. This list is by no means comprehensive. It's just a few ideas that I thought of to jot down that will take a few minutes of your time that can help you physically and mentally relax. So to sum up the stress section, communication on budget and expectations, schedule your priorities, which should include time for self-care. Don't be afraid to say no, and don't be afraid to reach out for for your health. I said that on purpose. All right, everybody, let's get back to some news here. That's all I have for today, but this is what we've got coming up with January SMART goals. We all know that goals are important. This webinar will help you make better goals. You will do your goals better. And then February, Heart Health. February is a great month to focus on that, so we're going to focus on it as well. Ways to keep your heart happy and healthy. And as promised, here is how you can contact us. We are on Facebook, we are on Twitter, we are on Instagram. There's our past webinars, and this webinar will be posted either later today or tomorrow. healthcheck360blog.com. You can call us at the number there. You can email us if you do want the PDFs of the recipes, I hope, because they're really good. You can email us, or with any questions, and then that's just kind of where we're located. And then it's myhealthcheck360.com. I apologize for your personal website for tracking and things like that. So let me see what time it is. Oh, it's 12:32. So I apologize, we don't have time for questions. If you do have any questions, or if there's anything we can do, please contact us anytime. Otherwise, thank you everyone for joining us, and have a wonderful holiday season.